The blush has faded from the rose.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I gotta say one thing. When I hold this mug up, this thing is damn heavy, and with my injured shoulder, this is a combat mug. This is, if for no other reason, you should own this mug, kids. Where was I? That's right. Right here.
The truth in my back, leftist lies and globalists, pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big gods creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands, but I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Leftist judges twisting, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. I've walked the line, 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air. My voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall. Sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, rules will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am live and direct right here in the great state of Idaho, in North Idaho. And I'm broadcasting from North Idaho. I am this guy. As you saw, I am your conservative Sherpa. And I'm doing this. I am guiding you through the, if I put on the right banner, that would be great. I am guiding you through this maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, bedlam, tyranny, and betrayal. And thanks for being here tonight. It is April the 16th, the year of our Lord 2026. I am the bulbous one. I am the place where you go for bulbosity, unrestrained and unleashed. Please acknowledge and respect the fact that for the next 2 hours, you're going to be hearing my opinion and my opinion only. There are no guests tonight. None with sufficient temerity to come in the room and challenge the black burning rabbit across the chasm of fate. I am doing the job the American media maggots won't. I'm fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. And we don't water our... God dang. Okay, if you want to buy the mug in the SHR swag store, if you're looking for a strange device, a combat mug, oh my God, this will do it right here. And we don't water our drinks. What I have in here, you see, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still, if I can put it down, you're funny in your mother dresses, you weird. We are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, clarity, tradition, and common sense. And we speak about in terms of, say, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law, everything. Nothing is verboten here in the saloon, where the freach is spee, but the news is bought. There, I think I screwed it up sufficiently right there. I'm streaming live on a whole bunch of different places. I show this frequently. You can find us streaming live right now on @KLRN Radio, Twitch, X, 3 places on Twitch, Rumble, and the SHR Media Use Group channel. And I love Use Group. It's a great place to be. It doesn't shut us down or anything at all like that. No, not at all. At all. And also, hey, look, I've got some folks that are in the chat room. O2AMT is here with his whip, his number 5 bullhide whip, which was made in Afghanistan by poor little Afghanis, and he rules the roost here. I'm telling you, Stephen Hall is here. Good evening to Stephen Hall, Listening Post Studios, the studios that are directly around the corner from a Listening Post. And hey, Mr. MC Libtard 5150. Okay. All right. And I agree with Listening Post Studio. I love when Freach is spee. Don't we all? We certainly all do. I have a question for everybody, and it's really simple. Have you guys ever seen a cat fall in a toilet? And when a cat falls in a toilet, or remember the clawed scrappling that goes on because it doesn't want to fall in the toilet? I wish I had video because my stupid little dog, oh, damn, fell in the toilet. God, if I'd only had video. How sad. Anyway, good to see everybody here. It is Thursday. We have a bunch of people listening live right now, and I appreciate your taking time because right now it's 8:09 Pacific, and on the Eastern Seaboard it is 11:09. Wow, that's why I call it a late night conservatarian talk show, because it's late night. It's not that late for me because I'm in the specific area, but it's late for a lot of people. Let me go down here. Oh, you son of a gun. This thing has done it before and it's doing it again. It's not allowing me to go down and grab my graphics. You son of a biscuit eater. All right. Well, I'm just going to have to do the best I can. Tonight, the show is about, and let me turn this off here for a moment. Are on, your ships are declined, and I will have a lot of stuff to talk about. I just won't be able to show all the graphics that I normally have. And also, dear Iran, I am not Mr. Obama, which is very, very true. And let's start off, if I can, with the carousel of amusing GURP by putting this up. I only bring the finest GURP for everyone. People give me videos from miles around. Here's one just for you. Now, she says this very quickly, and what she says is, men, why aren't you with your hoes? Meaning, boys, men, what are you doing instead of being with women?
Men with no hose. Where are you? What are you doing?
What are they doing? This. The cat has a groove.
Men with no
So
hose.
that's what men are doing these days, in case you were wondering. And also, this individual right here, he's a Democrat. I'm not sure what this means. Probably I'll let you guys suss it out.
Eric Swalwell lied to all of us. He lied to the most powerful people in this country. And they trusted him. They trusted him with some of the most sensitive spots in our government, whether it was on Judiciary Committee, Intel Committee, impeaching Donald Trump. And that clouded my judgment, my friendship with him, our family's friendship together with him clouded my judgment. And I was wrong. I deeply, deeply regret that.
Now, I was the recipient of that video. Not very many other people were, but I'm very glad of that. From here, I was just amazed. This, I guess you could put this into the category of news, but I can't even reach that graphic right now because StreamYard has been screwing up here for, this is the second week, StreamYard. Not pleased, not cool. Just a few days ago, this guy, who is an illegal alien from Haiti, brutally murdered a mother, a Florida mother, outside a gas station, and he killed her with a hammer. 6 Republicans just voted with House Democrats to advance a bill to extend TPS, temporary protected status, for Haitians for 3 years. This is unconscionable. I think I can reach that graphic. It's actually more than 6. It's disgusting. Okay, I have to make a point here, and by doing that, I'm going to have to take the comments down to show you this in the corner. Now, the person that you see in the bottom right corner, that's Kevin Kiley. He's from Califailure. Generally speaking, Kevin Kiley is a rather conservative individual, one of a handful left in Califailure. And the tall stoner, Haiti was destroyed by the Clinton Foundation. Oh, absolutely, hell to the yes, it was. Very much so. But Kevin Kiley in the lower right is a gentleman who can generally be tapped to vote conservative, Republican, even though he claims to be an independent. He's the most conservative Congress critter or assemblyman that I know that's in California. And yet he voted to extend TPS for Haitians, despite the fact that, well, it goes on. Let me continue. I also have this, and people were saying, oh no, this can't be true, BC. This isn't true. I don't know if I can do this. In a moment, I can embiggen this and make it a little bit larger for you guys. Illegal immigrants have killed 13,000 Americans in 2024. The total number of homicides in the U.S. in 2024 was 20,162. If you've been paying attention to the news stories you've been hearing, except from the American media maggots, but even occasionally from them, that homicides are going down in the United States, not property crimes. Some crimes of violence, but homicides are generally going down. And yet this seems to be trending up. So essentially what that equates to is 64% of all murders.
Right. 13,000 homicides from illegal aliens as of 2024. 13,000 homicides, Liz. This is a absolute and total.
This is Benny Johnson on the right.
Slaughter.
Literally, Benny Johnson on the right.
Of our people. And it's time that we start charging the people in politics and in government and in the Biden administration that decided on these policies. The blood is on their hand. This Haitian did not belong in America, should not be here, should have never been here with a hammer, should have never been able to slaughter that woman.
So why do we not remigrate these people that have committed crimes? And the show tonight, if I get to it, I speak in language that leftists will understand. Basically, the only things that they understand are sex and race, race and sex and stupidity. Not necessarily in that order. But these people, and by these people, I mean illegal invaders and people from what I call not the third world, but the turd world, coming here into our country and bringing their third world customs with them here. Oh, Earl Jackson of Mission Ready Men, who was on this morning. Earl Jackson is on the SHR Media Network, which is my media network. And he's on every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. And where I got this mug, oh, God dang, that's heavy, is from SHR. And he has some great t-shirts. I just ordered a new one from him that essentially says, go home. If you don't like this country, go away. You're using this country as a stepping stone to crime and entitlements and free stuff. And we're done. We are done with it. We're done with
That
it.
happened in my state. That happened in Florida. I have a family here in Florida. I'm raising my 4 kids here in Florida. It very well could have been my family, my children, my wife, or me. And you know what? Many Americans have to wake up every single day.
Okay, stop. Did you look in the upper left corner of that where it says warning graphic content? That's the guy with a hammer in his right hand for, do you see any justification provided by that young woman to be killed by that Haitian immigrant who was naturalized here in the United States, a lengthy history of crimes? What was the provocation provided by that young lady for him to kill her with a hammer? Did you see it? I did not.
With that fear. It's time for us to look at legal liability. In a righteous country, we would have legal liability for the Biden administration who decided to simply loose open the borders to the third world to take the prisoners, rapists, murderers, and some of the worst degens of society and loose them upon our civilization.
We got
a
news
human
coming in.
rights violation.
It is human rights abuses, yeah.
Crime.
And it's a violation of their oath to protect and defend American citizens.
Right.
That reminds me also, you know why this won't change? There's a very salient reason why this won't change. Politicians, judges, etc., have not just partial immunity or qualified immunity, which has been removed from police now in many leftist states. They have total immunity. Judges, prosecutors, politicians, there are no consequences for their actions. We, you and I, are held to all the consequences necessary to hold a civilized society. And it's quite apparent these days that politicians, judges, and the like are not interested in holding a civilized society. Now, people are saying, well, no, those numbers, those stats are false. You know, it's I can tell you with proof that illegal invaders are not the greatest committers of crimes. May I show you why that's crap? Because here's the deal, and I'll say it most every show, particularly for those who may have just tuned in and are not familiar with me. There's so much going on that it's difficult to keep track. If I showed you how many tabs I have at the top of the show right now of stories of interest that I'd like to portray to you, I cannot get to them all. There is no time. There is a show insufficiently long to be able to portray all of these things to you. But on the other hand, I need to emphasizingly that I don't make this stuff up. I don't make anything up. I don't need to. I don't have to. I just bring you the evidence of what it is that I'm saying. I bring the articles. I bring the videos to you from the internet. You know, that funny thing that gets scraped by me at 76 years of age. But oddly enough, magically, mystically, the American media maggots fail to do their jobs and present this information to you as I do, because that's a choice. That's an intentional choice that they make. And one of the major reasons that the stats are skewed is because leftist states, and I have to tell you, it's very sad. As an individual who spent 41 years in law enforcement, you can't trust cop administrations anymore. You can't, particularly if they happen to inhabit in a lurk, what I call a leftist urban rat cage, which is any and every blue city in a leftist state, in a leftist area. You can't trust the cops. They themselves have been corrupted for stats and numbers. And frequently they are told that they are to cover and bury information that does not provide a favorable impression of the area that they represent. Here's an example. BZ, how can you I bring to you the examples of this thing. The first assistant U.S. district attorney, or attorney, U.S. attorney, for the Western District of Washington says the state, Washington, doesn't track crimes by illegal immigrants. BZ, that's a load of crap. Oh, really? I have the video to show you. Otherwise, I wouldn't say that. He says that any crimes that are committed by illegal invaders are added to the U.S. citizen category. Consider that for a moment. That's corruption. He knows it. They know it. You're not supposed to know it. Democrats are intentionally inflating American citizen crime rates, and they are hiding illegal invader crime data. This is a quote. The state of what? Well, let's just tell you what. Let's just put this up and you can hear him say it. The first assistant U.S. attorney for the Western District of the state of Washington.
That is such a farce. Just statistically do the number, and I'll just deal with the state of Washington. The way those numbers are calculated is they take the total number of crimes that are committed in the United States, and they subtract out the ones that they know that were committed by illegal immigrants, and then they do the statistical analysis. Well, in the state of Washington, everyone that commits a crime falls into the first bucket. because they don't keep statistics. They don't even ask whether or not they're here legally. They don't have any immigration. So as far as the state of Washington is concerned, everyone that commits a crime here is a United States citizen, because they don't ever subtract out the ones that aren't. So not only does it not count against the people that are here illegally, they don't add it to those numbers, they include it in the United States citizen category. So those numbers are false from the very beginning.
So it's the United States citizens that are committing all the crime. The state of Washington is not the only one, by the way, I would suspect, in which illegal invaders are not counted for any reason whatsoever, because they intentionally, Democrats and leftists, people in sanctuary states, cities, towns, etc., don't want to know themselves what that rate is. And in particular, they do not want you to know what those rates are, because you would take to the streets. There would be even more umbrage against their philosophies and their regulations and their laws, and they know it.
I worked in the system for 17 years. I've seen it, and I'm not saying that they commit more crimes. I'm just saying it's a total fiction to say they commit less. That is so.
And so for those of you who are insistent upon, but PZ, you lie all the time, you racist. Well, they're just not counted. Now take the state of Washington, multiply that times other blue states, sanctuary areas, and cities and towns and counties. And then you'll begin to understand the problem, the size, the enormity of the problem. Now, coming up next is a gentleman that I consider like Thomas Sowell. He's a national treasure. He's hated by the left. So is Thomas Sowell, because he's an Uncle Tom. He's a black male sellout. He doesn't carry the water. And as I've said any number of times, quite frankly, couldn't care less about your melanin count. Couldn't care less about your paint job until you make it an issue. And then I will make it an issue. If you make sex an issue, I will pick that up and run. If you might make race an issue, I will pick that up and run. Here are some amazingly true words from Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas.
I think if we don't stand up and take ownership of our country and take responsible for it, we are slowly letting others control how we think and what we think. I think the beauty of going to school is that you learn how to think for yourselves. You develop the discipline to think things through. And if you think it's losing confidence, then you get up and you participate. You don't sit on the sidelines. You think that the state is being run and inconsistent with how you feel, then you get up and you participate. You prepare yourself. If you think that the medical profession is not right, well, you become a doctor or be a medical person, and you deal with that. I think we need to take ownership of our country. It's our country. I think
and it doesn't belong to anybody else. It doesn't belong to the illegal invaders. It doesn't belong to the third world parasites who come here for the entitlements. Enabled and pushed by Democrats and leftists who are looking to make sure that actual Americans are replaced. There is replacement theory and there is replacement reality. And I'll have more about that when I come back after this. Folks, thanks for being here tonight.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRN You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. Thanks for being here. You're in the saloon. My overlays have gone tits up. I apologize for that. Actually, if I hadn't opened my damn mouth, you probably wouldn't have even known that, and you would have thought this was a completely wonderful 120% predictable show. I love the fat dude. I love his shirt. Act, mac, act. That was a great movie. Dennis Quaid, though he's a nut, was okay in that too. Or did I confuse Dennis Quaid with Independence Day? Wasn't Dennis Quaid in that movie? Not Invaders from Mars. Mars Attacks. That's what it is. Mars Attacks. My RAM sometimes overweighs my ROM, as I say. We were talking about illegal invaders, and if you think that you aren't here to be replaced, and yes, that includes you, American blacks, I'm looking at you too. Oh, just look at what the lovely king racist Brandon Johnson has had in mind with your mind. Advancing and pushing illegal invaders over Chicago citizens. Chicago, oh yeah, isn't that the place of the new Popey, Leo? Hey, imagine that. I'll be talking about him in just a minute. And when I said in the promo, filter broken, I say to everyone here tonight, caution, filter broken, particularly with regard to organized religion, particularly with regard to the Catholic Church. There's a very good reason why I will tell you about that. And I want to put this up. This is Maria Bartiromo, and it's about a memo from Susan Rice about, hey, we got to get these illegal invaders here.
Susan Rice, former President Obama's key advisor, is heading up the operation of tasking our federal agencies.
Sorry, it's a little low. Crank up the volume on your end. This is as loud as I can make it on my end.
To actually get votes from illegal immigrants.
Are you saying you have proof that the Democrats are trying to recruit illegals, migrants to vote in our presidential election? Is that what you just said?
There is a memo from Susan Rice that says we've got to figure out how we're going to get these illegal immigrants. It's going to be challenging to teach them how to make sure we get their votes in the ballot. They don't say whether they're going to make them citizens first or not.
Well, that was a pretty stunning remark from New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney with me on Mornings with Maria on
Bet
Fox Business,
hedging.
apparently referring to President Biden's 2021 executive order, which put former Obama advisor Susan Rice in charge of promoting voter registration within the federal agencies. Now, it should be noted that the order does not allow illegal.
But the dealio is they don't really care if one slips through or 100 slip through or 1,000 or 100,000 or 1 million or 10 or 20 million. They don't care. They don't care. For those of you who just tuned in, by the way, they don't care. I also want to go now because the original, the first topic of the show tonight is with regard to, hey, Iran, your ships are declined. Oh, wait, I have sort of which isn't exactly the same. And that's back when I used to have a producer. I actually had a producer, Merton Queffel. He didn't work out well. He didn't stay around for a long time. But anyway, this falls under Epic Fury updates. I can still kind of sneak a peek at some of the overlays down below. This is about as close as I'm going to get to them. And the updates are this. This was delicious. Absolutely delicious. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to go into this in just a moment, because I was going to have an overlay that said BZ's BBS, big, beautiful soliloquy. And my soliloquy, if I can pronounce it for tonight, is this. You may have noticed energy prices surged about 11% in March. And the crowd went wild. By that, I mean the Demorats, the Panicans, they went wild in terms of outrage and like their frothing spittle. Funny thing is today, and I was out today, I noticed in my locale areas, gas prices dropped by about 10 cents to under $4 a gallon. Now, I don't know what they are where you live. If you are in a blue state, you can imagine that in Califailure, for example, you can count on, and I mean count on, an additional 41 to 45 cents per gallon tacked on just for the state of Califailure. Now, since today is April 16th, and I saw these prices today under $4 a gallon, the weird thing is, You'll hear when gas prices skyrocket. You'll hear when inflation skyrockets. Not under 46. You never heard about that. And the fact that price per gallon gas is dropping, nobody's mentioning that. The American media maggots aren't mentioning that. And also yesterday, Wednesday, I'd like to remind everybody, because the American media maggots certainly won't. Hey, look, kids, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ composite indexes somehow managed to surge to new all-time highs, despite the gloom and doomers and we're all going to die. People need to remember a few things. That the U.S. is energy independent, and that was entirely intentional, despised by Democrats and leftists and globalists. We do not have nationalized energy like so many other countries do, and we can thank President Trump for that. Thank you, President Trump. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. There he is. Thanks. And also thanks for not being Obama. I want to reiterate the base fundamentals that a lot of people seem to have forgotten for the conflict in Iran, which began, by the way, on February 28th. And it had a very plain and simple tenet. As people have said, what's the goal? The goal is to say ourselves and Israel went to war with Iran over the nuclear threat that Iran presented. I'm with Trump on this. Iran absolutely cannot have nuclear weapons because the axiom is, like all terror Muslim countries, whatever they possess, they're going to use. It's no more complicated than that. Everybody with a head on their shoulders knew that there was going to be economic effects for everybody, for the U.S. and for the nations using petroleum. From the house of obvious, the captain lives within. And yet, despite the OPEC-created gas crisis and embargo of 1973, which probably a good deal of you don't remember, but I do because I lived and worked through it. When I was a cop, I had to go to gas stations for fight calls because there were odd and even days and people were beating the snot out of each other for gas. And then there was the 1979 Iran Revolution. The U.S., throughout all of this, the OPEC created gas crisis in the Iran Revolution. What did the U.S. learn? The U.S. learned nothing. The rest of the world learned nothing. And as an aside, I want to go back and remind everybody that post-1979 revolution, the kicking out of the Shah and the installation of an Ayatollah, there were three Iranian pillars, Muslim pillars, that took over from that point on. They wanted independence from the West. They instantly declared hostility to Israel, wanted to wipe it out because Israel contains those damned evil Jews and because Israel was too Western and U.S. aligned. Like the Persians that the Ayatollahs removed during that revolution. And their third pillar, their third goal, was to export the revolution to other Muslim countries and around the world. That's why Hezbollah, all the rest of the terror groups are all Iran funded. They're acting as proxies for Iran. And we fed the beast. We, meaning the United Snakes of America. We don't mind. Here's the deal that I always thought was weird and funny. Not funny, haha, but funny, really strange. We don't mind calling diamonds from Africa blood diamonds or conflict diamonds. Oil from the Middle East is the same damn thing, folks. It's blood oil and it's conflict oil. And yet we just keep stupidly bopping on along, relying on sandbox terror oil when we had vast amounts of oil and gas under our very feet. And all along, this should not shock you. I hope you're all sitting down. The oil companies knew all about it. And they weren't allowed to touch it. What we didn't have is the political will, like President Trump has clearly shown, to truly become energy independent. And I have a memory sometimes. Let's go back to Trump 45, okay? Anybody remember that at the end of Trump 45, people forget that the U.S. was the largest exporter of refined fuel on the planet, right out of the chemical coast, off of Texas, Houston, and the various refineries and pipelines. And then Otto Penn Dementia 46 entered from stage left and completely destroyed the energy industry, pulled drilling permits, and forced us to continue to rely on blood and conflict oil. That just made absolutely zero sense. I don't know why that's up there as I was chatting along. Further, also, along Trump 45, we had the opportunity to completely fill our strategic oil reserves at very seriously reduced prices, which Chuck Schumer and Democrats completely denied, refused us the ability to do so, and they vetoed. We could have filled the entire strategic oil reserve at a much better rate than any other time since. On the other hand, you have to ask yourself, okay, we didn't learn anything about energy independence. What have we learned about anything else? What have we learned, for example, out of Wuhan 19? Anything? Did we start creating our own antibiotics? How about our own PPE, personal protective equipment? Because we relied upon China to get that. The state of California spent millions of dollars on an I don't remember the number, N95 mask, which if it's made by an American company, actually does its job. And so the state of California under Newsom ordered these cheap-ass masks from China, stamped N95 on them. N95, that was it. And they weren't worth a penny or two. And they got charged millions and millions of dollars for it because the people that run Califailure, hence its name, are predominantly stupid. So we didn't learn anything from Wuhan 19. Did we start to make, for example, our own medications? Nope. How about because we needed them, did we start to go and manufacture our own medical devices? Did we seek any kind of real independence from China, who, by the way, happens to be our growing enemy? Of course we didn't. So what do we learn? Do we learn anything at all? I reiterate, I'm going to go back and say this. 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. But that's not necessarily coming to the U.S., okay? Because of our current position of petroleum luxury. Essentially, Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. are energy independent. Europe sure as hell isn't, nor is the U.K. or Japan. And so let's be blunt. The U.S. is right in the middle of this dogfight. While we are the least impacted, the most impacted countries happen to be the most laissez-faire. They're even going out of their way, like Spain, Italy, the UK, to interfere with the staging of our military aircraft and our equipment. These Eurotrash parasitic infants would still rather rely on communist Russia, Tuvarich, Vladimir Putin, and Gazprom oil, just like Trump 45 told in that wonderful conference to the faces of those representing Germany. On the other hand, you can also make an argument for, can you blame them? Because what happened is we groomed them. We took them in as little bitty lizards, and we petted them, and we coddled them, and we changed their diapers all the way back to 1945. And we allowed them, with our money, your money, my money, American taxpayer money, we allowed them to create the biggest and most luxurious social welfare and medical system extant. And then they berated us for not having the same thing. And then what that did is that grew them into even larger, not lizards. Now they became dragons. And so they got pissed and they got huffy because we told them to grow up, get a life, get out of the basement, and get a damn job. And they were just like little kids. Oh, we don't want to hear that. That's so cruel and harsh, judgmental. I cry. See, real tears. They never paid their fair share of NATO until Trump 45. No other president was interested in this. Why? Their fair share of the UN. And simultaneously, all along, what they did is they laughed at us like primitives. They were much more elite and they were much more refined than us rubes. And like I say, in a way, they were right. We grew that. We fed them. And the lizards became dragons. And then when they were dragons, we were shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that they want more and more and more and more. You know, the old saying is similar to this. Words similar to this, Senator, is you get more of what it is that you allow or condone. And sure, things are expensive today. But isn't it queer how quickly we forget that the autopen dementia regime featured 9.1% inflation, the highest since the late 70s and the early 80s. And some people are saying that if the squeeze continues, and they're wagging their fingers at us, you know, if this squeeze continues another 3 or 4 months, you can take a Jerome Powell Federal Reserve rate cut right off that table, Mr. and Mrs. America. The other strange thing is this. Democrats said for decades that Iran could never have nuclear weapons. I don't disagree. Now they disagree. Only until it was that President Trump acted. Then it was, well, we didn't mean that someone should actually do something about it. And we sure as hell didn't mean that we wanted force or violence to be used. And then go back and remember that Wuhan 19 threw a monkey wrench into every damn thing. And China profited and laughed. Not now, of course. They're kind of sort of pissed right now because we've busted a move. So the autopen dementia regime did a pretty good job ensuring that prices did not come back down, as I mentioned. Like supply chain issues, like printing ass loads. This is an ass load. Now multiply that times millions, and then you have millions of ass loads. Supply chain issues and I swoon, I have the fantods. Tariffs are here. People, Democrats, screamed at us. But they are necessary in order if we truly do want to reshore manufacturing, American manufacturing. All the heavy industries left. And most every other president before Trump benignly watched all these heavy industries flitter away on heavy industry wings. And that was fine. That was okay. But the emphasis still has to be the nuclear Iran threat has to be eliminated. There are no two ways about that. The uranium has got to be found. It's got to be removed. It's got to be resolved. And again, I want to remind everybody that our GDP, the U.S. GDP, is still positive. In a Democrat admin, the GDP would be in the negative red zone right about now. The other thing Bering mentioned, and this just popped into my head before the show, is, we don't hear much about farmers. Because here's how this all interlocks together. And most farmers, about 80% of them, had locked in their fertilizer prices last year. And fertilizer pricing goes into food pricing. So that's not cratering, okay? And so if the fertilizer pricing is bad, the food pricing goes up, and then you can't get fertilizer, which comes from where, kids? You figure it out. Oh, that's right. That nasty petroleum, that nasty oil. It's all deflection, because the other issues out of Iran aren't out of Iran. All the spending, all the fraud, all the corruption, all the waste. The story for the midterms has to be, from the Republicans, there's too much spending. I'm not hearing that from the Republicans. There's too much spending. They need to all say it together, united. And it's like the wind whistles, but the prevailing prairie winds, the political prairie winds, they're howling and the tumbleweeds roll by. I don't see shit being done. Republicans have to say that we agree things are too expensive. And we see that it's affecting you, the American people, and the consumer. That's what too much spending causes. It's why Democrats want to raise taxes. It is a never-ending circular firing squad. So Republicans can't afford to do the AutoPen 46 dementia thing, where it was, everything is great. Don't pay attention to this demented toad you see being directed other places that probably at one point, but wasn't covered, peed his pants while he was a president 24/7. Because I have to admit, everybody here knows this. The Republicans suck. You suck at messaging. Always have, always will. Probably. I cheer for the day you kind of get things together. Not convinced. Now, turn now back to Iran. The most recent play by President Trump on Iran. Now, people are saying it's like a three-dimensional Spock chess. Not necessarily. But I do like it. Now, what people fail to recall that when you're dealing with President Trump is, it really is, read the damn book, The Art of the Deal. He's all about a deal. He's all about negotiations. And as far as he's concerned, and this is the first thing you got to realize, it's this way one day, it's this way another day, and it's this way. Trump is fluctuous. That is what he does. That is his shindig. You have to remember who President Trump is. He is all about the deals, and the deals change monthly, weekly, sometimes daily. And remember the Trump axiom. It's all about leverage. So, seriously, and I was thinking about this before I hit the show, hoping that my overlays don't lock up, which they did. Doesn't it kind of make you feel that Democrats and leftists believe that if you have leverage, power, and most importantly, the will to use it, that's not playing fair? Those aren't the Marquess of Queensberry rules. And it's not being fair with anyone. Now, it was true with Obama. It was true with Biden. The U.S. historically had to negotiate, air quotes, from a one-sided position of weakness, where we give all and the other side takes all, and it wasn't fair. Air quotes, like I said, To even ask at the time, because we'll be right back after this, to even ask, what are we getting out of that was terrible. It was heinous.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hi, kids. I'm back. It's hour 2. Somebody in chat was theorizing, PC, are you AI? Now, if I were AI, or if I were someone, a creator of AI, would I actually craft something this old, this ancient, this hairy, and this fat? No, nobody in their right mind would do that, for God's sake. I was in the midst of a BBS, a big, beautiful soliloquy, and I was talking about Iran. And let me put this up just for a moment to stoke yon fire. A statement from Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. Can I make this big? Let me see if I can. Yeah, there we go. A blockade of Iranian ports has been fully implemented as U.S. forces maintain maritime superiority in the Middle East. An estimated 90% of Iran's economy is fueled by international trade by sea. In less than 36 hours since the blockade was implemented, U.S. forces have completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea. Admiral Brad Cooper, thank you ever so kindly. Appreciate it, Monsieur. And so let me go back, if I may, to my big, beautiful soliloquy. And that's when I was saying, go back just a day ago, I think it was. A day, maybe 2 days. the recent action by President Trump, in which he announced the Strait of Hormuz was closed, now it's open, and the blockade is of Iran. Because, as I so gleefully point out, he's not Obama. And thank God he isn't. So excuse me while I say that that was a stroke of brilliance. There's a phrase I'm looking for. The one ace in the hole in which Iran faithfully believed that they held over everybody. We have this hanging over your head. The Strait of Hormuz blockade turned into one of the greatest NFL reverse plays like ever. Because what happened is Trump ended up playing the 180-degree reverse card and said something similar to, hey, I have an idea. How about if we just block all the ships going into and out of Iran ports? And then, okay, the American media maggots said, oh, but look, ships are moving. Yeah. Do you think that ships have to be directly in the port? They don't. They can do other things. Because news to the American media maggots and lovers of CNN. You know how fast a tanker goes? About 20 miles an hour. A kid on a bicycle can keep up with that, much less a naval destroyer or any other frigate or U.S. Navy ship. It was genius, simplicity, with the force of the U.S. Navy behind all of that. So the entire Iranian economy, which isn't terribly far from total collapse, is affected. Because guess what, kittens? An estimated 90% of Iran's economy revolves around trade by sea. And like I said, CNN and all the other American media maggots are bleeding about, but the ships are getting through the Strait of Hormuz. And the current blockade is against Iran. And you think they can't block those ships? But there's more to the story. And like I said, it was Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. And let me throw this onto the stage just for a moment so you can hear.
The U.S. has announced a formal blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas. This is illegal action. All vessels are advised to immediately return to port if leaving and discontinue transit to Iran if that is your next port of call. Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from an Iranian port. Turn around and prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance.
Out. I have spoken. And the U.S. has spoken. And let's hear it for U.S. hegemony. No, not a capsule, not the second series, not after Mercury, not before Apollo. Good God, you people, wake up. And now all of a sudden, this is weird. This is so bizarre. Could you not have anticipated this? Iran has now frantically said they are, okay, maybe we do want to deal with President Trump after realizing that his blockade of us is working. U.S. warships, they surged. Iran basically can't conduct the business that they historically did. And this is another aspect that is just damn glorious. There are a huge amount of oil tankers that are traversing to America, to the United States. It's all part of the plan. So here.
Good afternoon, Sandra. The talks here in Islamabad over the weekend were the highest level talks between the U.S. and Iran in nearly 5 decades. And now President Trump upping the ante with this blockade of all Iranian ports. The president was just asked, what was the biggest sticking point here this weekend?
It was over nuclear, very similar. Yeah, very good. I guess you're listening. It's over the fact that they will never have a nuclear weapon.
A blockade would open up any ship, including tankers carrying Iranian oil, to be potentially seized by the U.S. Navy. Now, before the blockade went into effect, Iran's speaker said on X, quote, "Enjoy the current pub figures. With the so-called blockade, soon you'll be nostalgic for $4 to $5 gas."
Because historically, Iran has been so accurate. Whoever that guy is, Galibaf, maybe that's, the cousin of Baghdad Bob. May he rest in pieces. But I find it amusing that Iran's threats indicate, we will see you with our 78,523 virgins, 0.5. And the other thing that the American media maggots are saying, leftists and Democrats, is Trump is going to crash. He is going to trash the entire U.S. economy. Trump doesn't know what he's doing. If you let politics guide your money, ladles and gentle Ben, you're going to be poor. Oil is now at $87 a barrel. Well, yeah. Hello, it's time to panic. So how about this? Oh, look, yesterday, Wednesday, Wall Street hits record as S&P 500 continues 2-week rally, boosted by hope for Iran war's end. Are you in stocks? I am. Lots of stocks. I had a great year last year, which is why I paid so many damn taxes. But I had a great year. I've invested for decades and paid whatever price was necessary to make sure that I enjoy my dotage in much less agony than I otherwise would have. So shit is falling apart, is it not? And the answer is no, it's not. No, it's not. So this is, I don't know if it's officially called this, but it could be called Operation Economic Fury. It doesn't matter anymore who comprises the Iranian leadership. Iran is on the veritable edge, not of liberty, but of decimation, annihilation, disintegration. Unemployment is huge right now. When the people protested in the streets 3 months ago, for 2 days, 30,000 Iranians were slaughtered on the streets. Inflation then during that slaughter was at 40%. Now it's 180%. Millions are unemployed. Their currency is down about 98%, not 100%. From 2019, collapse is literally around the corner. Look, BZ, I'm almost deaf, but even I can hear it. Iran's closing of the Strait of Hormuz now means ships don't get into or out of Iran and its concomitant ports. And wait a minute, BZ, it means something else. No oil to China. That's an added benefit. That's a big Benny, wouldn't you suspect? I would. And this is from Fortune magazine. Oh, my heart, like Chief Dan George, my heart soars like an eagle when I see this. I hope you can see it. The headline, U.S. naval blockade on Iran will trigger a currency devaluation spiral and hyperinflation, potentially ending the war more quickly, analysts say. Which to me makes sense. With luck, it makes sense to you. But everything, like I said, with Trump is fluctuous. And speaking of fluctuality, I may have just made that word up. This is from Channel 10 WJAR. Completely empty. Tankers are heading to the U.S. to load up with oil and gas. Massive numbers of completely empty oil tankers, some of the biggest anywhere in the world, are heading right now to the U.S. to load up with the best and the sweetest oil and gas anywhere in the world. We have more oil than the next two largest oil economies combined and higher quality. Hey, we're waiting for you. Come on over. The pumps are open. No reason you shouldn't be here. And also, the kind of super tanker that he's talking about carry about 2 million barrels each. They are CVCC, something like that, like super big oil carriers. And they're racing to the Gulf Coast from every kind of direction. And I want to put this up if I can, so you can see this. Here it is. That's shipping. And it kind of looks to me like shipping is going this way and heading, oh, gee, look at the ships that are in here. Look at the ships that are clotted through here. That's the Strait of Hormuz. This is the Strait of Dab al-Mandab. Did I get that right? I may have, or I may not have, for that matter. But the ships are cruising their way towards the U.S. So what happened is, kind of historically speaking, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, and they mined it. Hey, weird. We now have ways to find where those mines are. Iran slaps their forehead and says, well, we can't remember where all those mines are. I guess you're just going to have to find them. So they did, and they found a pathway through that area. And everybody panicked, of course, before now, a couple of days ago. Oil hit $126 a barrel. And gas hit $4 a gallon. Oh, much more in leftist urban rat cages and blue sanctuary states. Okay. Cable news did the thing where they put a big, like when you see heat that's 90 degrees in your area, the weatherman puts on a red banner, heat. It's always hot in the summer, folks. Imagine that. And then all the cable news people, CNN, blah, 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 put oil, crisis, big crisis, in a font that said that, you ought to be going to your gas station and putting as many cans of gas in your garage. God, Sean came to me just for a moment. As you possibly can, kids. Don't do that. That's really stupid. Take it from BZ. Don't do that. Don't recommend that. And then something happened that the American media maggots are not interested in reporting. So the world, just like I said earlier, did what? Oh, it did a 180. It switched suppliers. Huh. That's weird. It's like changing your internet provider, except the internet provider is the entire global energy economy. So we went from the Strait of Hormuz and Iran, and they're now coming to the United States of America. So American oil exports, they at the end of 45, we were the biggest exporter on the planet, the United States. And they're coming back to kind of those record levels. Gulf Coast refineries are running at about 95%. Super tankers that were somewhere out in the middle of the ocean, there somewhere on their way to the Persian Gulf, got or maybe they got sent mac, which interpreted means turn around, you're going to the United States. And so they started heading to Texas, to the chemical coast. That's what it's called, because it's the chemical coast. And ship tracking data, just like what I showed you, and you can go on Ship Tracker and all that kind of stuff. You can find it yourself. I trust you. And you can see them do 180, U-turn, go the other way. Because trust me, the owners of those ships and the oil companies are going, turn around. I need oil. We need to fill up. I need to make some money, honey. And so let's leave them Persian dolts to themselves. I know where you can fuel up. And they did. So what happened is Iran played its biggest, get it, trump card. And they caved. They caved. They didn't see that coming, and it takes somebody thinking kind of out of the box. to be able to do that. So this is the good part. This is the crux of the biscuit that I like. So China was getting like 45% of its oil imports through Hormuz, and they were paying essentially bargain basement prices for sanctioned Iranian crude because Iran was cutting them a deal, right? And now they got to compete with Japan, and now they got to compete with Europe for the same, it's a little bit more expensive American barrels. Chinese manufacturers have already raised prices 20% on goods headed to the United States of America because they got to screw you somehow. And again, do you not see and understand why we have to kick China and its ass to the curb? We cannot be dependent on China for anything, just like we cannot afford to be dependent on blood oil or conflict oil from the Middle East. We cannot afford to be dependent on China because China is our enemy. Hello. So this is, I'll let you figure it out because I know you're smart people. This is either the most Machiavellian, like Byzantine, weird, elaborate, just incredible coinkydink in the history of geopolitics. Who could possibly have seen this happen? Go back. Let's see. In order. May I dust off my fingers here? Let's see. Venezuela, yeah. Iran, yeah. Profits, oil, screwing our enemies. Cool. That's really cool how that works out. Let me put this up here again. The times what was that from the Bosch show? The times they are changing. I can't sing, nor will I try to sing. Everyone should thank God for that. So here's a guy in about 45 seconds who says, I'm from Iran. I got a message for you guys from Iran. This religion is not compatible with, anything. So let's have this guy tell the truth.
A lot of people call me an Islamophobe. My answer is, you goddamn right I'm an Islamophobe. I'm from Iran. 9 million of us escaped that brutal regime because of what that religion did to our country. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like that. There's exceptions. There's also non-racist Republicans, just like there's sensible Democrats. I'm talking in general, this religion is not compatible with Western values. And the irony is, they know it themselves. They escaped the shithole they were from, hoping they could make a better version of it in the new land they came to, but they can't because those ideologies are just not compatible with what we stand for and what we cherish. Open your eyes around your new reality.
Persians before 1979 were on the way to becoming a very, very civilized, westernized country. And that's what Islam hates and despises about what used to be Iran and about Israel. They are too damn westernized. Absolutely too damn westernized. And it's like I said, the three pillars of Iran were basically, okay, we hate Israel. We're going to sponsor terror. And we're going to expand the product all around the planet. That's exactly what we're going to end up doing. And it's what they did. And so the wonderful thing is that that U-turn worked. And I have to say, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming at all. Now we're going to transition from this into, oh, and I forgot this. I can still show you a little update on Jake, who is my dog that is slowly passing away. We didn't expect him to make it past November. We didn't expect to see him survive past Thanksgiving or Christmas or winter. And it was the snow. He kept going out into the snow to do his thing in the backyard, potty, peeing, etc. He was 24 pounds. He was 10 pounds, and we've plumped him up another pound. He's 11 pounds now. This guy is the Energizer Bunny of hospice dogs. And all we're trying to do is make sure that he's as comfortable as he possibly can be. He's going to be all that he can be. We have already had any number of vets tell us last year, this one fucking vet told us, yeah, I just get rid of him. I held my mud. I didn't say what I was thinking, even though filter broken. And I'm going to tell you about my filter in just a moment. And I didn't say what I was thinking, but it goes something similar to fuck you and the horse you ran in on. I'm not killing my dog. That's not going to occur. When he is still showing us he's got fight within him, he still has a lot of life left. Speaking of life, speaking of the crazy things, and I was going to show you on some overlays, but I'm just going to have to use videos and whatnot. So this is where I either make more friends, probably not many, or I lose more people. Because I've had it with this. And me having had it with this doesn't mean one thing one way or another, really. I'm just a little pissy guy on a podcast, and doing the podcast is fun and entertaining for me. And that's why I do it. So I'm not making any money, blah, 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 blah. I have more money than I know what to do with. But I do it for myself. And I do it because, well, I have opinions. And my opinions are similar to, we watched this happen with prior socialist popey. And I am not understanding the Catholic Church these days. Pope Leo the whatever the hell. 14th, I think. It should really, honestly, it should come as no surprise to me. Dude's from Chicago, okay? So Pope Leo, remember, parenthesis, BZ's filter broken. Pope Leo the 14th decided that he was going to weigh in last week on President Trump, on the war in Iran, on the state of immigration in the United States and throughout the world. And pretty much the same crap that socialist popey pulled before. I will be first to state up front, and immediately I must make this clear and known. Pope Leo has a complete and acknowledged right to say whatever he wishes. A public figure may say whatever they wish within reason, okay? And truly, the dealio was, I didn't pay much attention to it until the internetosphere kind of blowed up. It blowed up real good. And Trump's graphic came out where he's putting a hand on the forehead of somebody, and people are saying, oh, look, it's all angels above. No, it's not angels, it's eagles. and these are military members. And he's pictured as everybody on the left are saying, oh, he's like a godlike creature with angels in heaven and that sort of stuff. If you look at the graphic, it's not really. And I don't have the ability to display them, but it shouldn't shock you that I found 6 graphics to put up here where they did the same thing to Obama. Obama was the Messiah. That's okay. This is bad. But the very first thing that I happened to notice was that Democrats and leftists have sort of like amazingly, magically, mystically shed their atheist coats and became mockingly pious, and they were offended and they were outraged, shocked, I tell you. Where's their fainting couch? They have the fantods. Wake me up. That caught my attention because oddly enough, I remembered some stuff, like I said, about Obama. And hey, kids, look, I found a ton of images of Barack Hussein Obama in similar positions that Democrats and leftists swooned to and adored with all their cold little hearts. But shootibus rectibus, that's okay because the Democrats did it. Bad Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man, bad. The guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Oh, you can't do it. So Trump essentially said that, well, I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense to me. How do you weigh in with this sort of stuff? Because I'm paraphrasing here now, Senator, because essentially, Catholic Church, you are a container of some of the largest hypocrites on the planet. So I got to agree, not because I necessarily love Trump. More on that in a moment. Well, hell, let's just do it now. I was talking about Iran before, and Trump seems to have this fixation. God knows, I understand completely why he does have a fixation. Oh my God, I missed a break. Screw it. It's my show. We're going to continue. Move on. And his dealio is with the art of the deal. So I understand. But my gig would be Islam, specifically Iran, is never going to honor a deal. Ever. Never. For those of you just tuned in, never have they or will they honor a deal now or in the future with any Western civilization, nor would they honor deals with themselves. Remember the credo, if you would. Me against my brother, me and my brother against my cousin, me and my brother and my cousin against the tribe, me and my brother and my cousin and the tribe against the outsider. That's the ranking in a tribal nomadic society like the Middle Eastern version of Islam as practiced. Knowing, of course, that as I've said any number of times, the bulk of Muslims are not in the Middle East. They're in, answer the question, Indonesia. And people don't realize that. So Muslims will screw over each other. What makes you possibly think that they would conduct themselves in any sort of an honorable fashion with infidels? And the answer is they won't. Simple. So trying to go, my shindig would be, that's it. We're done. Give me all the bombs you got. Let's just bomb the crap out of everything. Let's just level everything. If you're thinking about taking out power plants, take them out. If you're thinking about taking out refineries, take them out. Whatever sort of infrastructure you think should be taken out, just do it. If you have any inkling as to where the rest of the military will maybe take them out, because they will never, until you kill them all, they will never stop going for a nuke. And if they get it, if they have it, if they assemble it, they will use it. And China will still supply them with all the equipment they need, because China is our enemy. So I massively disagree with Trump on that. Stop with the negotiations. Stop fiddle farting around. Stop screwing around. Just bomb them back to where they belong in the Stone Age. All of them. See if you can get the Iranian people. Hello, note to Iranian people. Get the hell out of Iran. Go someplace else. Once you're there, then I'm going to level your damn country and everybody in it, which is what Israel should have done to Gaza. Level Gaza. Turn it to rubble. Bounce the rubble. C, A, and B previously. That's how you handle Islam. So, yeah, I don't agree with Trump on that. And Pope Leo, Pope Leo is the same as whatever the Pope was before, and I can't remember his name, mostly because it's not important. I just know Pope Leo because everybody's talking about it right now. The prior Pope was a tool of Satan. This current Pope is a tool of Satan. He says Christians and Muslims can live together. Well, okay, that's true if there are no Muslims. But when some bishop or cardinal or whatever it was, it came out in a little graphic, a little meme that I was going to show you tonight. But the meme said, it must clearly be stated that no one has the right to criticize the Pope when he faithfully follows the mission he received from Christ to bear witness to the gospel of peace. That to me sounds kind of startlingly like some Democrat government drone telling us that they are right, everyone else is wrong, and you cannot speak against us. Note to everyone, the Pope isn't holy. The Pope isn't God. The Pope isn't Christ. The Pope, like a mayor, got voted in. And he puts on his, whatever the hell that is, one pants leg, if it has pants, I don't know. One pants leg at a time. As I said, I emphasize that all people, religious and otherwise, have rights to speak their minds. Just as I have a right to speak mine, as President Trump has a right to speak his. But the Pope is no better than I am. All his associate popes and his mid-level popes and his lower-level popes, they're no better than me. Now, if you believe that you're going to judge me by what I say tonight, I have to be honest. I'll still have a show, and I don't care because my filter is gone. But eventually, I'm going to tell you why, kids. This kerfuffle continues to buttress my expanding feelings that organized religion has served its purpose on a big overarching level. Now, certainly there are lots of people that are going to say Christianity is expanding itself at a greater rate, perhaps, than Islam. Another BZFN equation. If that's true, then outstanding. Anything to crush Islam. I don't fear Islam. A phobia is an unreasonable fear of something. Let me see if I can pronounce this correctly. Isla Bulik. God, I screwed that up. It's a word that says basically I don't fear Islam, but I am concerned about its effects. And its effects to me mean that Islam has no place in a civilized society. It has no place in the United States. It has no place in Europe. And even some of the people that I speak to around here, BZ, that is so judgmental. What about all the moderate Muslims? There are no moderate Muslims. There are only Muslims that are doing it improperly. That if they were of any significant concern to the imam down the block who advocates killing all infidels, they themselves would be on the chopping block. And will, if imams like that get the numbers, because demography is prophecy, comma, kids. But organized religions, if they're expanding, okay, I guess. But in light of the historically and extraordinarily lengthy corruption of the Catholic Church in history, like I say, I'll tell you about that. There's a reason. But these words came from my brainulus, and I wrote them and I shoved them all through social media. And that is, hey, look, the Pope has his own city. He has his own army. He has his own police forces. And even though he is a mortal, he is worshipped by his followers. The pomp and circumstance around him are like British royalty or any other royalty, except bigger, deeper, more lengthy, more historically, bigly expansive. And they are rich as hell. They have banks. They have properties. They have anything and everything that you can think of. And this is the Catholic Church, whose some embrace homosexuality. Well, okay, it does. The Catholic Church embraces homosexuality and pedophilia. I can, filter broken. I cannot say it doesn't, because it does. It has historically failed to control the rampant and huge amounts of child abuse that have occurred within its corridors and behind doors. Huh, Alta boys. In my opinion, it continues to extort money to continue the lavish lifestyle to which they have already become accustomed and demand to continue to be accustomed. All in the name of serving God. When I believe, truly, they serve themselves. They're no different than any major, except they're the biggest damn RICO in the world. And so this Pope, these cardinals, have the temerity to tell President Trump how to handle our country and our affairs that keep you safe. I will give a crap what Pope Leo and the cardinals, I wrote their names down over here, McElroy, Cupich, and Tobin. I will give a crap what any of them think when I see the Pope's traditional papal apartment on the top floor of the Apostolic Palace, covering roughly 32,000 square feet, featuring numerous rooms and a private study, a chapel, and a library. When I see the papal apartment opened completely up to as many Somalis and Syrians and other Muslims as can fit, because he himself has said that we should be friends with them. We must be friends with them. Okay. Go do it. Go prove it. Go live it. And I'll listen to what those people say when St. Peter's Basilica and the square are opened to multiple thousands of homeless in their tents, along with their accoutrements and the things they place and will place in the square. And I will begin to take them at their word when the walls surrounding the Vatican are completely taken down, just as the Pope demands of us. And I will take them seriously when pedo priests are excommunicated and then they are prosecuted criminally. All of them. And you know they know who they are. And I will begin to give credence to what it is that they say when I see them laying their bodies down and dying in the fight against evil. Until then, basically, as Monty Python says, piss off. Now, you may have noticed that I have tried truly to be as circumspect as I possibly can. And I'm not going to get to anything else. I can see that tonight, besides the finishing up with the Catholic Church and NGOs and the damage they do. And that I see no other explanation other than they are prodded by the satanic. Which is so weird because the Pope went to Ethiopia, wherever it was, but the Pope didn't mention, the Pope didn't mention India, or the Pope didn't mention Syria, or Nigeria, or Bangladesh, or Pakistan. It's true that hundreds of Christians have been murdered around the planet just up to April, just this year. Churches have been burned to the ground. Okay, not mosques, churches. Pastors kidnapped and killed. Not imams. Communities that have practiced their faith in locales for centuries, now wiped out. But good old Pope Leo the 14th, mum's the word, dude. Time to go visit. It's time to go visit a mosque in another country. No named condemnations, no emergency visits for the Christians that have been killed. No breaking of protocol, just quiet platitudes about dialogue and in peace directed at nobody in particular. Where's your umbrage for that stuff? If I'm hearing it, I'm missing it. Okay? But the week Trump escalated the Iran war, Leo managed to wing it all across a bunch of continents. Gave a ton of media interviews, messages, went viral, tons of virality. There were those three cardinals that I mentioned earlier that whipped on over to 60 Minutes on CBS. And like, okay, that wasn't a coordinated response or anything, was it? And this guy named Bishop Strickland was removed for defending church doctrine. This guy named Bishop Fernandez in Puerto Rico was removed for defending religious exemptions that the catechism itself supports. And so, hey, churches, Catholic Church, you guys remember that during Wuhan 19, governments padlocked churches across the world? Wait, what was the response from the Vatican? If I had a producer, you'd be hearing the sound effects of crickets going free deet, free deet, free deet, as in, hey, I didn't hear anything. Oh, all along, Biden got communion while loving abortions. No problem. Vatican, jeez. Let's talk about something really important. But Trump calls Pope Leo weak, which he is. And suddenly the Catholic Church finds its voice. So I'm curious. I got a couple of questions, and then I'm gonna show you some things. First, I'm going to tell you something, and then I'm going to show you with some videos and some illustrations. Why, like the UN, do you yell the loudest at the United States, and particularly at conservative individuals and conservative politicians, when you're not yelling very much at the Democrats, and you're quieter for the people who are dying for your faith to keep you free. So finally, before I go into some other areas about the new popey, why is it that I dislike the Catholic Church? In the 90s, I worked for the child abuse unit in my department in Sacramento, California. And I was handed a case involving the Catholic Church. And let me just sum it up real quick. The summary was this: priest buried, refused to say where he went, end of case. Thank you, Catholic Church. Because that victim didn't mean a thing to you. I have intentionally been trying to temper my FNS words. Because at this time, they should be pouring out of my mouth. And then, to make matters worse, and you know how sometimes in life you think, gosh, I wish there were things that I coulda, woulda, shoulda. My supervisor at the time, when I came back and said, hey, this case right here, the Catholic Church buried the priest on me. And my supervisor at the time said, okay, well, just penned it. What that means is drop the case. Here are 10 more, not like that one, and move on. And like the fuckstick that I was at the time I did it, I did what I was told. That's my coulda, woulda, shoulda. But then in retrospect, as I aged, I came to realize I just saw and discovered all that I needed to see and discover about the Catholic Church. And so when I am taking umbrage at the church, there's a little history with that. And its history is real, and its history is disgusting. And so Pope Leo goes to Algeria, and he goes to the third biggest mosque in the world. And he says it's a holy space to God. And he's saying that Europeans and Americans, you evil bastards and bastardettes, must stop complaining about mass migration, about illegal invaders, and that Christians and Muslims got to unify.
I know that in Europe there are many times fears that are present, but oftentimes generated by people who are against immigration and trying to keep out, maybe from another country, another religion, another race. And in that sense, I would say that we all need to work together. One of the values of this trip is precisely to raise the world's attention to the possibility that dialogue and friendship between Muslims and Christians is possible. I think one of the great lessons that Lebanon can teach to the world is precisely showing a land where Islam, Christianity are both present. And
okay, stop right there. I can summarize this no better than these are the words of a madman. These are the words of an idiot. These are the words of an individual that doesn't have eyes, doesn't have ears, and can't understand what's going on. Does he not see what is happening in Lebanon? Does he not see what is occurring all across Europe? Does he not see what is occurring in the United States, in Texas, and elsewhere? Does he not see and understand and listen to people that are telling you, and I will have a program about this, when Muslims tell you to your face that we want to kill you, and the first thing that you do is disbelieve them because you don't believe that anybody can have a mind like that. Who could possibly say that they would want to kill us. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't happen. That can't happen. That simply doesn't happen. Now I'm going to play you about a little bit less than a minute of Tom Homan. And so Tom Homan gave a pretty good response to Pope Leo. And he says, if you essentially opened up your eyes, you might have a little bit of a different opinion. You know what? God bless Tom Homan, who has the patience to attempt to explain information to an idiot who should know better. But let's let Tom Homan take the stage and speak.
I'm not going to speak for the president. I'm speaking for myself, a lifelong Catholic. I wish they stay out of immigration. They don't know what they're talking about. Because if they wore my shoes for 40 years.
Okay, stop. Turn up the volume. It's up to the max that I can. Crank it up on your end so you can hear.
And talk to a 9-year-old girl that I've raped multiple times. Or stood in the back of a trailer, tractor trailer, 19 dead aliens at my feet, including a 5-year-old boy that baked to death. If they understood the atrocities that happen on the open border, I think their opinion would change. And I welcome discussion with any of them because they don't understand. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. Would President Trump have the most secure border in the lifetime of this nation right now? Lives are being saved. He's saving thousands of lives a year because he has a secure border. Human traffickers are out of business, right? The cartels are going bankrupt because of that secure border. I wish they'd understand that, because if they did, I think they have a different opinion. I'm not going to speak for the president. I'm speaking for myself.
Okay, stop. With luck, you heard that. But this, again, my opinion, this son of Satan sitting in an ivory tower, protected by walls, and people who attempt to get over those walls when they're closed, they are arrested, they are prosecuted, and they are imprisoned under Italian and Vatican law. And he will not speak. He is protected to the nth degree like no one else, almost no one else on the planet is. He has his own country, not just his own city or county. That's his city. His people get to make the rules. And so when I see you in your infinite giving wisdom, turn like you demand of us, kick down your walls, and let the homeless and the illegals be festooned all over your sacred areas, I will believe you. Up until that point, and I know that will never occur, shut the hell up. I don't believe you. I don't respect you. Not in the slightest. For a man of God, you're stupid and godless. So, by the way, let's go over this. I'll just put this up, and it's going to be really small in words, but I will read it to you. How the Catholic Charities turned mass Afghan resettlement into a federal cash pipeline. You know, one of the reasons that Popey is pissed is because we're in the process of ensuring that the spice does not continue to flow and will be interrupted. When Catholic Charities of Oklahoma City bragged on EWTN about resettling more Afghans than any other Catholic Charities office in America, they wrapped it in the warm language about the stranger and the common good and serving our brothers and sisters. But the truth is simple. It wasn't a Christian duty. This was a federal business operation. It wasn't about charity. It was about money, honey. Catholic Charities didn't suddenly discover compassion. They discovered funding. They went from resettling 21 arrivals in 12 months to 1,800 Afghans in 6 months. How come? Why for? Because the Afghan airlift unleashed a flood of federal money. And those arrivals were not properly vetted. That was intentional. The Taliban had already destroyed IDs, government files, and biometric records. Real screening, you couldn't do it. There was no database on Omar the tent maker. Each Afghan generated $2,275 in federal payments, plus housing funds, food programs, legal services, transportation budgets, caseworker salaries, emergency response add-ons. Catholic Charities admitted they expanded from 65 staff to 105 in 90 days. That's not charity. That's scaling a federally funded migration program. And so they turned Oklahoma into a resettlement hub. Their partners tell the real story. Catholic Charities proudly worked with Muslim groups, 80 plus congregations, secular and interfaith networks, Jewish organizations, evangelical churches. They built a massive left-wing and Islamic interfaith machine to import unvetted migrants and sold it as Christian love. 'Cause money, honey. And how about this? Catholic Charities. Oh, PZ, you're making all this up. I'll have all this stuff ready for you to see in Rumble. Go to my Rumble page tomorrow when I got all this stuff fixed and posted. You can see everything that I see. I'm not making this stuff up because I don't have to make this up. I can't create these videos. I'm a techno moron. I'm a techno Luddite. I can't and I don't do this because I don't need to. I just bring the articles and the videos via the internet that a lot of people don't want you to see and certainly don't want talking about. If this program tonight makes over, 100 views, I will be shocked because this is the first thing that various forms of social media will squash and make sure that you do not hear, and especially my voice. And yes, there is going to be overtime until I'm finished with this aspect. I've got a little bit more to go. Okay, a little bit more than a little bit more. It might be 2.5 hours. And it's really, really late. I get it. It's like 1:01 Eastern right now. But hey, you can always watch me later on in podcast when you have some time. Catholic Charities made billions of dollars shepherding illegals. Where's the proof? Here's the proof. Go look through it. Catholic NGOs, federal migrant funding, fiscal year 21 to 24. Right there. $2.38 billion. Grand total, $2.38 billion. I don't make that up. I don't need to. It's there in black and white for you to see. Turns out also that HHS, Health and Human Services, was shipping money out the door to Catholic churches and charities like a freight train between the election and Trump's second inauguration. Mass migration is a hustle. It is a race hustle. And here's the proof. Go through all of this. Lutheran Social Services, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee, Menominee County Intermediate School District, Lutheran Family Services in the Carolinas, Nebraska, Central Ohio, Columbia Lutheran Services, Lutheran Services Northwest, Allegheny, Lutheran of the South, South Dakota, blah, blah, blah. Go look at that. Take your time. You'll be able to find all the links that I will provide to that because obviously I'm lying, right? So people have called a bunch of offices, and Catholics, the good Catholics that are still remaining, you need to know what's going on in your churches. Okay? And these will also be in Rumble. Southwest Kansas, 150 Afghans are being assisted by Catholic Charities, Southwest Kansas, the leading resettlement agency in the region. And go read that. Let's go to the next page. The major municipalities in the region, Dodge City, Garden City, and Liberal. Now, if you think that because you're a conservative area that you aren't or haven't been affected by all of this corrupt grift, these scams, this corruption, this terrible stuff, yeah, it's everywhere. It goes everywhere. That's the point. That's the purpose. So Afghans are talking about their religious needs and talks of building a mosque in one of these three cities. Being able to achieve that is important to the Muslim community. They have places to worship, but there is not a dedicated mosque. There is no Muslim cemetery in the area, which is also important for that community. I don't make this up. Because as you well know, the first thing that Muslims do is they want to assimilate into the culture. Like I said, I go back. The first question you always ask about everything is cui bono? Who benefits? And this is exactly why the bishops and the popes have all turned on Trump. Because he's not going lefty-loosey, he's going righty-tighty to the spice, which is not flowing. Not so much anymore. Rome's money is being turned to the off position. And when it isn't about the money, when people say it's never about the money, it isn't about the money, it's about the money. So charitable positions, Catholic charities, pay somebody $500,000 a year. Private donations, $1 billion. Total revenue, $4.7 billion. I'll put the link up here as well. Billion. And where can you find this information? Right here. I don't need to make it up, and I'm not making it up. Go look for yourself. It's on the internet. But the big difference is you have to want to know. And a lot of people don't want to know because you are being ripped off, Catholics. If you're a good Catholic, you are being ripped off like you cannot believe. Or perhaps more appropriately, like you don't want to believe. A lot of people don't believe it, that the Catholic Church would do anything like this to you. Here's an individual. I think this is 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I'll play this until I get tired of him. So here's an American dude, obviously a white guy. God dang white supremacists, who's defending Trump about calling out the Pope's very, very highly selective outrage. And as you well know, this is just another white supremacist complaining.
Leo, with this broke-back selective outrage. So you're mad at military intervention for Venezuela, who were being oppressed for 40 years. And after the military intervention, thousands of political prisoners were let out from their senseless bondage. You're mad that after 50 years of Iran's psychotic regime murdering people for no reason, to have the nerve to say that too many innocent people are dying, while the same regime that we're fighting against right now murdered 40,000 protesters in 2 weeks. This is what you're angry at, but you're not angry at the millions of babies that get murdered every year through abortion. You're not mad at homosexuality being celebrated and shamelessly exalted in our country, in the Western Hemisphere. You're not outraged by the brutal, merciless persecution of Christians all over the world, especially in the Middle East and Africa.
And that's where I'm going to stop it for right now. Because what is that? Of what is that an example? Hypocrisy. Thy name is the satanic pope. Tell me I'm wrong. What sort of a person does that and simultaneously ignores the evil that is under his feet, that is in front of his eyes, that the Catholic Church has intentionally turned a blind eye upon, and they have known this not just for decades, for centuries? How do you deal with people like that? And then the corollary of that is, in terms of organized religions, since I'm skewering the Catholic Church, what about the rest of you people that are in the various pulpits of various churches? Because the very people that you say that you want to love are the very people that are going to try to kill you if they come to power. Do you think they like Catholics? I don't believe so. Do they think that they're going to just kumbaya with your religion X, whatever it is that you decide that you're going to fill in your religion? Yes, Muslims will understand me.
We love like that when our neighbor is an immigrant with a different religion and a different background and a different culture. It's happening all around us, isn't it? And people may be getting nervous. All these new people coming from all these other countries. What's that going to be like?
What the Islamic, and again, I'm an Orthodox Muslim. What we couldn't do in the last, say, 20 years, now the West is doing it for us for free and even paying for it.
Allah permitted them to live off the infidel while they are subduing them.
I tell you what it's going to be like. It's an incredible opportunity for those who love Jesus to befriend people who need Jesus and to share this good news of the love of God and his cross and his resurrection.
Every ideal nightmare of a Muslim Europe will come true. They can be as mad as they want. I don't care.
This is how we reach people. You know how we're going to reach all these people?
This is the soft Islamic conquest of the West.
Those alleged Christian leaders telling you this from the pulpit are cowards. They are cowards. Why am I having to tell you that angels were warriors? And you're so ready to give it up and watch your country fall. It's your country. You need to take some kind of aspect of holding on to it, but you don't seem to be particularly interested. And again, how many times do I have to say, if and when this country falls, you will be the first to be eliminated. The LGBTQ camp will be the first to be eliminated. Religion will be the first to be eliminated. Not just as in, go away, we're taking over your church, as in, well, you either convert or we'll kill you. And Islam tells you this multiple times a day on social media, everywhere, to your face, and you say, oh no, that can't be true.
Including many Americans who don't know God. And then the immigrants who come in, you know how we're going to reach them? Our love. By this will all men know that you're my disciples, that you love one another.
There's two types of houses in the world. There is Darul Islam and Darul Harb, meaning the house of war. The house of war is this democratic system, democracy, freedom, secularism, man-made laws. This is, my dear brothers, the real game, my dear sisters, the real game and the real struggle for what it's really about.
Holy crap, yes. Get new leaders. And when I say get new leaders, I also mean kick the stupid asses of the pastors and the priests out of the pulpits who aren't willing to fight for you, your community, your church, and your state and your nation. Because it is all being undermined. Before I go, I want to play this. Essentially, this is saying that in a bunch of internal DOJ emails are saying that there are George Soros-backed NGOs that were telling, I almost don't know how to say this. They were telling federal prosecutors under Biden who to target under the FACE Act. And the targets broke no laws. The prosecutors followed the NGO's directions anyway. Todd Blanche, who replaced Pam Bondi, he found the emails and he fired every last damn one of them. The DOJ wasn't a law enforcement agency. It was, I don't know, a George Soros field office. Because, like hashtag why not? I will end on a happy story. And thank you to everybody who has been here tonight. I haven't been reading the comments because I'm busy trying to put a show together and trying to speak as off the cuff as I can with a whole bunch of evidence, credible evidence to indicate and back up my allegations and my assertions and my opines. Oh, look, there's a pine over there. And that pine and that pine. So new Trump policy just dropped. And I'm going to let Marco Rubio, who has many hats, tell you about it.
The United States has spent billions of dollars over the years in helping with health strategies all across the world. What we learned over time, and especially after coming here, is that oftentimes, and I'm oversimplifying it, but this is an accurate description. What would happen is we would go to a country and say, we're going to help you with our healthcare needs. Then we would drive over to Northern Virginia somewhere, find an NGO, one of these organizations, give them all the money, tell them, go to this country and do their healthcare program for them.
Mm-hmm.
That NGO would then take about, some percentage of that money for their overhead and administrative costs. And by the time it got down to it, the host country had very little influence. It was sort of imposed on them. And only a percentage of the overall money ever actually reached the patients and the people on the ground that we were trying to help because of these costs. This makes no sense. So why are we hiring American and international NGOs to go into other countries and run healthcare systems that are parallel and sometimes in conflict with the healthcare systems of the host country? If we're trying to help countries, help the country. Don't help the NGO to go in and find a new line of business. And so that's what the model that we're breaking. We're not doing this anymore. We are not going to spend billions of dollars funding.
We are not doing this anymore. Oh, words that please me to no end.
Funding the NGO industrial complex, while close and important partners like Kenya are either have no role to play or have very little influence over how healthcare money is being spent. Bottom line is, if you want to help a country, work with that country. The United States.
Because anything else is a scam. Hello, like all NGOs. Hello, like religious charities. Hello, like the Catholic Church. Gosh, I wonder if I've made my point tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct, right here on Rumble, on the SHR Media YouTube channel, on X, many places on X, on Twitch, the munificently grandiose KLRN, parenthesis, don't tax the Rick, end of parenthesis. And even though I don't have the overlay to prove it, I'll just show you a picture of a dog as I say this. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Shure and Electrovice microphones, Arrakis boards, and Pratt & Whitney engines, producing thrust you can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. I can actually show you my tiara tonight. That's a welder's cap. That's all it is. Jake, take it. And also, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes. I want to thank each and every person for being here tonight. 2 SHR shows on tomorrow night. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you next Tuesday, everybody. Take care. God bless. Be safe. You hate me now, don't you?
Everybody quiet down now. Get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.